What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video, leave a comment. I promise to respond. I got a guest on. We're going to do something a little different tonight. We're going to bring the guest on, and we're going to bring his girl on. Talk about, kind of what his transition was like with his wife when he got out of prison. We're going to talk a little bit about prison, what it was like I believe he was in the Texas Department of Corrections. But Little Country, I'm going to let you tell the people who you are, man, where you're from, and tell us why they call you Little Country.
Well, I'm originally from West Dallas. I grew up in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood, and, got involved with, neighborhood cliques and doing the drugs, criminal things. I grew up, my father, you seen the articles I sent you on my father, he done over 40 plus years in prison. He was an older man, so he was a alcoholic, real bad alcoholic, and so I wound up, I don't know how to explain it. He retired from the job he had after he got out of prison the last time. So I was stuck with him. So I learned watching him and his friends that, they did little schemes of themselves, different things. And then we wound up moving to this little small town because my parents' mom, they wanted to get me away from the drugs, the gangs, because, we did a lot of burglaries and different things. And I go to boot camp when I was 17 over burglaries and wind up, I get out, and I actually was going to straighten up, wanted to go to the Marines, but I ran into the informant on my case. And this is a funny part of my story is I went to prison over an argument because the guy that was an informant on my case, we got into it again one late night, and he pulled a knife on me and I pulled one on him. He ran a little bit faster than I did, and I learned what a panic button was that night, and they wound up giving me aggravated assault, and that's what put me in prison.
Say panic button. Did you catch him? Did you stab him? What happened?
Oh no, he ran in the store, so I just kept walking. I walked off, not realizing that the knife that I had on me was illegal to have. I had it for the job I had, So when the cop pulled up, I was like, here's the knife. But the small town I was at, they didn't like me at all because I wasn't from there. It's a redneck type town, real racist. And they told me, because I was still in trouble doing, being a stupid little kid or being a stupid little white kid, trying to be cool and wind up looking like the fool in the end of everything,
You talked about your dad. Your dad did 40 years. Did he do 40 years straight?
Well, it was off and on. He started doing time back in 1936, I believe, is when he started. He was born in 1919.
Holy shit, man. How old are you?
I'm 45 right now.
How was your daddy when he had you?
He was 59. He married my mom when she was 18. He just got out of doing 26 years for killing the cop. And the funny story on that is, my mother cleaned his sister's house, helped her out for extra money, little young girl. Her dad told one of his friends that he was looking for a shotgun to shoot my dad with because he thought my dad was trying to mess with his daughter who was, 18. So my dad drove up to her and says, where are you going today? And you want to ride? And next thing you know, my dad said, you're going with me. We're getting married. And they went and got married. She was 18. He was 48 years old.
Damn. And your dad kills the cop?
Yes, sir.
For killing the cop? That was in Texas?
Yes, sir.
And they didn't give him the death penalty?
Well, the story, he said that I don't know if he wound up going to death row, then they brought the case back, but it had to do with like bootlegging, the wrong place at the wrong time. That cop beat my dad, pistol whooped my dad so bad that he broke my dad's shoulder, and he let my dad leave. Well, my dad went out to his car and he got the shotgun, and he couldn't use one arm, so he just threw the shotgun over the arm he couldn't use, and the guy he intended to shoot jumped out the plate glass window, and the cop came up to shoot, and my dad hit him in the head. And my dad ran to Minnesota.
from Texas to Minnesota, that's a crazy trip, ain't it?
Yeah, yeah. He said he jumped to get out of the town because they was looking for him. That he had to jump in a boxcar.
I know you talked about growing up in a Mexican neighborhood. You're white, right?
Yes, sir.
What was it like growing up in a Mexican neighborhood in Texas being a white dude?
Man, to be honest, man, I never lived nowhere where they were so welcoming and everybody was family. Even though I was a white guy, I was raised there. So the mothers and the fathers, they treated me just like I was one of theirs. And actuality, when I was a little toddler, whatever you want to call it, barely getting around, they thought I was mixing my English and Spanish up because, on both sides was what they called the Paisa guys from, Mexico. And every time I seen them, I would run to them and they would talk to me in Spanish and they'd give me a Sprite. You know what I mean? A Sprite, some type of candy. So, I was just I didn't know nothing really about race at the time. You know what I mean? I didn't know I was any different until I went to my aunt's side of town with my Mexican friends, and her friends, their friends would grab their purses. That's how I knew it was different,
Yeah, I mean, they embraced you, man. Look, I got along with a lot of Mexicans in prison. One of my best friends he's a South Sider, right? I do all his legal work for free. I try to help him, man. He's got 35 years. And I've always got along with Mexicans. That's why I wanted to ask you, like, some people might be listening, they think of, what was that dude's name? Joe Morgan, right? With the Mexican mafia. Like, some white dudes do integrate into that culture. And I see you got your wife with you. Is she Hispanic?
I am half Mexican. My dad's side.
Well, I figured that because of the last name in the email. And
Yep.
I want to ask you a little bit about being in prison in Texas. So you're doing time in Texas. Do you get tipped up? Do you join a gang?
Yes, sir. I joined the White Knights.
Tell me about the White Knights. I'm going to do some research, but tell me about them.
Well, White Knights, this before I got with them. They originally started in 1987 on this one unit, but in 1991 they had an incident where the Bloods killed a white dude over his tennis shoes, as the story's told, and 7 solo white guys, little youngsters. That's what that is, a youngster unit. The ABTs, the ACs, supposedly didn't want to do anything about it because you know how they are if it ain't a bro, So them guys handled the situation. And when they came back, out of a joke, one of them said, we saw the White Knights kicked ass, that little joke. And from there on, the Mexican guys, every time new white guys would start coming in, they were like, who them guys over there? And they would just say, oh, that's the White Knights.
Were they a racist gang or no?
No, not at first. No. I think everyone that originally started it was from the poor white guys from the hoods and stuff.
But it does eventually become what, a racist gang, or it is, or I don't know. So you have to school me.
Yeah.
School the viewers.
Well, at first it was more into this. Well, let me see. It was about brotherhood. At first, just something for white guys to stand up together against the racial violence that is Texas. For a white guy in Texas, at the time, you really didn't have no chance if you were solo, because, man, white dudes would watch another white dude just get their ass tore off the bone and then turn away. And then after you get your ass kicked by everybody in the damn block, then they'll come to you and want to embrace you. Hey, I want to be your bro now, and that's just how it was at the time,
What about the Mexicans? They wouldn't embrace you in prison? You couldn't have joined a Mexican group?
No, it wasn't like that. I had friends that was Mexicans, but I chose to be white because I seen the what's that word I'm looking for? The hostility towards the whites, I wanted to be proud to be white, because it was a Mexican as a kid, as a teenager, taught me about race, about being my racial identity, about being proud of who I was. Because one time as a teenager, somebody called me a white bread chicken shit motherfucker. And I didn't really know what it was because I didn't identify as a race at the time. And the dude just got out of the Texas Youth Commission Center. He was like, hey, dude, you got to do something, man. When he's talking about your people, even though we see you as one of us, you're still white. You got to be proud of that. And I've always been white pride, you know.
So as the gang is forming, it's growing. There are some racial overtones, but you
Yes,
grew up
sir.
around Mexicans. So in your heart, it's okay for you to believe in your race and be proud of who you are. But was there ever any hate in your heart? And I'm going somewhere with this question. I'm letting you know now.
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you. No, I'm more. Everybody even said this, which you like. I got a picture with my bro who came to visit me here. He's now in Florence, Colorado, and he's like, "Man, you look like a Mexican." You know, I've always adapted to that culture, that dress. You know, that's all. That's I've always slicked the hair back, buttoned it all the way up to here, and it's just who I've always been. You know.
You become a product of your environment. You are who you are, man. Doesn't make you a bad person. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I understand.
the reason I asked you that is because you're married to a Mexican woman, right?
Oh, I know this is going to sound hypocritical, but I'm going to say it how it is. I've always found Mexican women attractive, and even some black women attractive. I really never have really been attracted to white women. I got with a couple of white girls here and there, and I had two sons with a white woman. And I tell you what, that woman was crazy. That's a whole different story. But I've always been attracted to Mexican women, you can say.
I just asked you that because you're in this gang that's a white gang and you marry a Mexican woman. I'm not saying anything derogatory or anything like that.
I understand.
Did you know that question was going to come?
Oh, I understand. Oh, yeah, I figured it was. See, really, like in Texas it's not like California and like the West Coast and different. Texas, you might have a black celly, you might have a Mexican celly. At that time, it might be different now because I ain't been in there in so many years. But a lot of the games wasn't really based upon race; it was based upon more protection. You know what I mean? And they can say it is, it ain't, but the fact that's what it is. You know what I mean? But we had half Mexicans and white knights. You know.
Not a problem. Like I said, I don't really know much about them.
And even as a white knight, just to trip a lot of your viewers out, I raised a black daughter for 10 years with that white woman that I had 2 sons with.
Was that kind of against the gang, or did your bros look at you like, dude, what are you doing? Was there ever that type of thing?
Okay, when I first got out of prison and wound up getting with this woman, I never hid it, you know. And they accepted who I was. They accepted what I was at the time, you know. And the bros in Amarillo, Texas, that was there, you know, they brought her candy, brought her gifts, just like they would my own kids, you know. But later on, that did become an issue.
What type of issue did it become? I'm interested.
They wanted the patches of bros who was with women with mixed kids.
So they wanted to get rid of you.
Yes, sir.
All these dudes that you were cool with, man, that you had this loyalty to, they couldn't accept you for who you were. They wanted to take the patch.
Well, I got to say this much. At the time, I just stepped down from the wheel position because I was just sick of it. I was just tired of it because all I was doing is chasing my bros that used to be bros, and I was handling business that was problems that was caused by bros on the street. And I couldn't make a meeting one time to Austin, Texas. And probably a good thing I did, you know. But these bros started calling me after it was over, telling me, hey, man, they want to pull your sticker because, man, of woo, you got a mixed kid. I argued. I was like, I don't got a mixed kid. It's my wife's daughter, but I don't judge kids, you know. I don't target kids. That's the rules, you know. You don't target kids. You don't target women. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this. As a white knight in the Texas prison system, how do you get a patch? Is it through violence? Is it blood in, blood out? How's that work?
Not necessarily. It depends on where you're at and who you're doing it under, you know. I got blessed. I had friends that was a part of it that put vows for me, and then my 2 sponsors wound up, they was regional majors of the organization. So I was, from a prospect, I was tossed into politics. You know what I mean?
Oh, I understand. I understand prison politics. Trust me. Let me ask you this: did you ever have to commit violence in there?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have on a few occasions, and I ain't gonna say I was super badass. I had 1,000 fights, and I probably lost every damn one of them. I tell my son who's in juvenile right now, he's kind of stressing about the violence, because he's a white kid. He's trying to identify with the blacks, and you know how that works out sometimes. And like I told him, I said, son, every unit I ever been on, I got my ass whooped. You know what I mean? I said, no matter in Texas, if you got a patch or not, you're gonna take an ass whooping. You're gonna prove who you are.
How about weapons? They use weapons in the Texas prison system?
Oh yeah, that's what I got put in seg for originally, was for sticking.
You stabbed somebody allegedly, right?
Yeah, they stole some suits out of my cell, and I went to get them back, and they was like, I became a whole ass white boy. Fuck all you white boys. And where I was at, there was only like 2 or 3 of us at the time, and well, I just ain't gonna be that hoe. You know what I mean?
How many times you stab him?
Oh, I got 3 good ones. I stopped because he was screaming for his mama.
Where'd you hit him at?
Hit him twice in the back and once in the gut.
Twice in the back. So let me ask you about that. Did you hit him from behind?
I hit it. When he saw the blade, he took off.
So there's nothing, hey, it's prison and nothing's fair in prison, right? I mean, you got to win. However you're going to get your win, I want people to understand that. However you're going to get your win, you're going to get it.
Oh, I was just trying to survive. I wasn't worried about winning. I was just worried about surviving. I'll be honest.
Well, what I mean is when someone steals your shit and they start calling you a hoe-ass white boy, you got to go out and get your win, man. Getting
Oh
the
yeah,
win
you
is the
gotta
same thing
get
as
yours.
surviving.
It is what it is. I ain't gonna you ain't gonna take something that my mama paid for. You know what I mean? That's my mama's money.
I feel you on that. Hey, mama's special, ain't she?
Oh yeah, my mama stuck it out, and my mama stuck it out.
She's an amazing woman.
I'll tell you what. Here's a funny little story. My mama was type of woman. She'll come to that visitation when I was level 3 in SEG. When I first went into SEG, my mama, I used to have a pocket in front of my boxers. My mom would buy me enough candy bars to take back to the house with me. Like, because we was in them little booths, and we was all shackled up, didn't have nothing to eat, but all we had was some hygiene, in the cell. So she made sure I could sneak some goodies back there with me.
So you end up doing 6 years in solitary confinement, right?
Yeah, SEG.
What's it like sitting in a cell for 6 years all by yourself, or are you double bunked?
Oh, this is by yourself in Texas, man. They'll leave you in there and forget about you. I tell you what, man, when they first put you in there, you're kind of relaxed. You're like, oh, hell yeah, vacation time. But then when you're stuck, like I told my girl, the first couple of years, you're like, it's all good. But like I said, you stay on level 3 and all this, they got levels. And it's this constant noise, And I said, and then you got the guards, they don't give 2 cents about you. You're lucky if you eat properly. In Texas, it's like a big warehouse back there,
Was it hot as hell back there, or was it air conditioned?
Man, hell, shit, I didn't know what an AC was till I got out. I didn't even grow up with an AC.
How'd you survive in there, man, when it's so hot? I was in FMC Lexington, a federal prison, on the 3rd floor, no AC. Dude, sometimes at night it'd be 107 degrees out, man, up there. It was so hot on that 3rd floor. It was almost unbearable. How'd you make it, man?
Man, I just bared it, man. It wasn't no tricks of the trade, man. Drink plenty of floods and hope you make it. That's just all it was where I was at,
Were you miserable?
Miserable, man. Miserable ain't the word for it,
Do you think being in that prison system and experiencing violence and living in a cell, for 6 years, do you think it affected you mentally and emotionally?
Oh yeah, very, very. I have struggles now. Like you might notice, I look away and shit. I have struggles. I can't be in a crowd. I don't really like being in a crowd. It's hard for me to maintain relationships, like friendships and stuff like that, because I always look for the underhand in everybody.
I feel you, man. I struggle with some of the same things like many of the people that watch the show. Amanda, what's it like being married to a man that spent 6 years of his life in a solitary confinement cell? Did you have to help him adjust? Are you guys still adjusting?
Still adjusting. Yeah, it's hard. He's sometimes so hard to love, but I love him and I'm loyal and he's my everything. But yeah, some days I'm like, I can't fucking do this no more because it's hard. It's hard. He'll switch. All of a sudden he'll just be good, and all of a sudden he's not, and he'll shut down. He doesn't sleep. He won't eat. Yeah, he still has a really bad nightmares, and sometimes when I wake up, because I wake up early in the morning, go to work, he'll be holding his neck still, like he's in a coffin, protecting his neck. We've been together almost 7 years, and he's probably maybe 10 times I've seen him do that in his sleep.
That's crazy. So you said you get up, you go to work. You ever been with a guy that has been in a criminal lifestyle or been to prison? You ever had to deal with this before?
Not like this. Nothing like this, no.
And I don't know if I don't want to ask you where you work at, but you do work a government job, right?
Yep. I work for the federal government, and I was in fire and aviation. About 13 years I've been in the federal government.
I was blessed to meet this woman.
That's what I'm about to say. It's not often that you find like federal employees that end up with a guy that, walks out of prison and you deal with the things that he's going through. And, I commend you for doing it, and for real, man, little country, you gotta always, just respect her, man, and appreciate her. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do. I truly do. I never really dealt with the mental issues that I learned that I have. It took looking into my reflection to realize that, that's one thing I really appreciate about your show. It really helped me to understand I'm not alone in feeling like I want to, like I told her the other day, because, I'm dealing with my son right now. He's in a juvenile facility and he's going through, I just got the last Monday, they just served me paperwork for his newest indictments against a staff member and a child. Well, not a child, but, another kid.
Another juvenile inmate, yeah.
And, and I'm dealing with that. I said, man, I feel like at times I got 20 different things going off in my head. And like dealing with him, it puts me back in that mode of when I first went in prison, when you felt like everybody's out to get you. You know what I mean? Like you're alone. And I'm like,
and I haven't been able to reach him this past couple weeks because he's just like so far out there, and I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Let me say this, right? Because this is the perfect story, man, for this show. And I talk a lot because I taught classes in prison, man. Leaders breed leaders. My boy Cedric Dean, man, real good dude, African-American brother, spent 25 years of his life in prison. He wrote this program called Leaders Breed Leaders. And the objective was to teach men to be real fathers, real leaders, and to stop the vicious cycle of imprisonment. Your father was in prison. Now you went to prison. And now your son's in prison. At some point, man, this cycle has to stop, right? So like I was saying, this is, the perfect story for this show. Because, and I'm going to repeat what I just said, because your father was in prison. Then you go to prison. Now your son's in prison. And when I was in prison, I used to teach this class called Leaders Breed Leaders. And, this guy, Cedric Dean, African-American brother, one of my best friends in the world, I'm going to bring him back on the show in the next week or two. He wrote this curriculum, and the curriculum was teaching people to be real fathers, real leaders, real men to stop this vicious cycle of incarceration where we continue to, just continue this pattern. My father was in prison. I was in prison. I got 2 little boys. I'm going to make sure that the pattern stops with me. Your son, I want to talk a little bit about your son. How old is he?
He's 16 right now.
You said that he's trying to integrate into the kind of the black community in prison. What is he, a blood?
Sir. No, he ain't a part of nothing, but he tries to identify with the Crips.
And that's obviously causing him some problems over there, right?
Yeah, he's going through what they call, he's fighting because he's a new guy on the block. I don't mean to laugh about it. It's not funny, but I warned him.
How
We all have that, he's a good kid, got a good heart, but he doesn't use his freaking
And
head.
you made a good point. That's why I got out of White Knights. It not only because they was targeting me behind my stepdaughter, because I really wasn't worried about that. Like I told him, you want what I got, come and get it. You know what I mean? I ain't worried about none of that. It's just what it is. But my son, the same one I'm talking about, I didn't understand at the time that what we was doing, even though that I tried to shield him from it, he was seeing the violence. He saw us take guys into the garage. And at the time, if we caught you doing drugs or shooting a needle, we would give you 10 lashes with a strap, And yeah, I know, it got pretty out there, and then he wound up stabbing a kid or two kids with pencil. And I was like, man, son, I got to get away from this. So I got away from it. You know what I mean?
Hey man, we got to be the people that stop that shit, man. You know what I mean? You got to stop it.
Yeah.
Your kids should never see stuff like that. You're a father, you're a husband. You got out of prison, you're part of this organization. It was, that you were involved in the street, you're going to meetings. In prison, you're going to meetings in the street. At some point, you end up saying, man, you know what? I'm done with this. And you walk away, right? How'd you feel when you walked away?
I want to be honest, straight up, I cried. That was the only family I had after my dad passed away, because I lost my dad while I was inside and had to deal with that. And that basically what made my mind say, okay, that's what I want to do, and then I went that route. But when I was out here, my mom, when I got out, she was remarried and my sister's military. I didn't want to go to my sister's pad because she had kids and I really wasn't ready to deal with kids, right? So I wound up, this is funny too. I had a list of some guys that needed prayer services, needed some, was in bad standing. And one dude that was on there, I called looking for him and got a hold of his niece and was like, shit, that might be a fresh start. I just go to Amarillo. He was locked up in another state. And little did I know, I hit Amarillo and that was like what's the word I need to use for this? It was like a white knight stomping ground. And I didn't know it at the time, but I thought the guys I knew was all from Dallas and Houston.
I want to ask you about your solitary confinement time a little bit too, because there's people watching this show and they can't even imagine what it's like to be locked in their bathroom for 30 days, let alone be locked in your bathroom for 6 years. When you used to lay in your bunk at night, man, and I'm sure there were plenty of hard nights, right?
Oh man, many nights. I used to get pictures all the time of my nieces, nephews and stuff, and wedding invitations, graduation invitations, and like one thing that really hit me hard one time was a friend of mine wrote me, and I guess I was going through something, so I signed my name, instead of putting Little Country, I put John. And they wrote back saying, that's the first time you've used your real name in so many years. I became Little Country, and that's who I am,
Let me ask you this. On those nights when you laid in your bunk, man, what were some of the things that you thought about, man? Did you think about, man, I want to get out and meet a good woman and have a life? Or did you think, I want to get out of here and just be a hardcore gang member? I want to get out of here and lash out at people? I want to know what was going through your mind.
Well, I think when I first went into prison and going into SEG and different things, I was still like an immature, naive little kid, man, up here, I really didn't know what the world was, be honest with you. I thought, like I just told my mother today, I said, man, one thing that I hate about myself, or I don't know if that's the right word, is that I never got an education. I never took the time to learn anything, and I would lay in the bunk sometimes thinking about, well, I get out of here, I can go do this, easy money this way. And you hear all these different guys. I met, like I told my wife, I said, all I ever met in prison was murderers and dope dealers. Nobody's want to be the dope fiend. Nobody want to be the little guy. You know what I mean? And then, I would and then sometimes I would lay there and just like, what the hell do I go on for? You know what I mean? it was hard after my dad died because, just what the hell, you start losing people. You wind up like, am I going to wind up being here forever or I'm going to get out? Because I really didn't give 2 cents, at the time.
Were there ever times when you felt like you wanted to check out, you wanted to give up, just gave up on life?
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna lie about that. Yeah, there's a few of those times. I'll be honest.
What fueled you to get through it, man? What made you say, you know what, I got to keep pushing. I got to wake up tomorrow.
My mom. Be honest, I wanted to get out there and be with my mom, because she was the last one, last all I had besides my sister and brother,
Now you're out here, you're living a good life, right? When you get out of prison, how did it feel that first day when you walked out? You're like, wow, this is it, man. This is the world, man. Did you go, hold on, did you go from the cell to the street? From solitary confinement to the street?
Yes. I got let out, me and a Mexican guy from El Paso at 7:45 in the morning in Huntsville, Texas, from the Walls unit. And it was raining. They said, get the blank out of here. And it was raining. And we walked to the store because all I wanted to do was get a pack of Camels. And the damn store was closed.
You are country as hell, aren't you?
I'm a little bit, yeah.
It's all right. So what was it like walking out of a cell, though, man, after you've been in that cell all them years, man, to come out and just walk out to the world?
Well, I didn't think of it being a mental thing at the time. I remember I was at a stop and go in Austin, Texas, to get a pack of smokes. And I was cool going from the gas pump into the store. I get in the store. I'm standing in line. I bought me a Mountain Dew. And everybody, all the people, and the constant movement, I had like a panic attack and I froze. And my friend had to come and get me out of the store. I remember that.
How long you been free?
I've been free now. The last time I went in for 10 months. I got out in 2010 and I ain't been back except for her brass knuckles. Here. They were pink.
You're in jail for brass knuckles for your wife, but now you're living your best life, right?
Oh yeah, it's only thing is better if I could have my kids with me. Other than that, it's perfect. I got a grandbaby, got my wife. I can't complain.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you, coming on the show and sharing your story and your experiences. It's the first time I ever brought a husband and wife on. Oh. And Amanda, I appreciate you coming on, helping them, jump on this thing because it ain't always easy to learn technology.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you, Chad. Like I was telling you in emails, he watches you religiously.
Yeah, really.
And I can tell lately that after some of your shows that he wants to work on the stuff that's deep down that he hasn't dealt with.
I like your honesty, like how you talk about the white groups that you've done time with. I like the honesty of it because I think that's one thing I'll be honest about joining a group. I was blinded by the lies and the portrayal that they portray it to be once you get out of prison. Because what they said I was walking out to wasn't what it was, you know what I mean? And all it was where I was at, I'm not gonna lie, I partook in the drugs. I loved the bros that was there with me at the time. But in the end, it was a continuous cycle. You know what I mean? We preach about uplifting the white community, right? But the same person talking about white unity uplifting is the same guy that's trying to sell the dope, to another, they're not doing nothing productive, you know what I mean? And like in Texas, you got all these different white groups. Well, not all at the time, it was only 3 or 4. Instead of they'll fight everybody, they'll fight each other, kill each other. But when it came to anything else as a racial matter, they were like, well, it's not our problem. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I like that you put out there about your experiences with different groups and so forth.
Well, it's real and it's raw, man. It's the truth. You know what I mean? We live that life, and we see these people that say one thing and do another. So it's like an oxymoron. But
Absolutely.
I definitely appreciate you coming on, and I'm happy that you're doing good, happy that you're living good. I hope that the show can motivate you to put on your work boots instead of your prison boots. And I hope it not only for you, but for plenty of other people.
Yeah.
And I hope there's young men like your
Chatty.
son that watch the show and be like, wow,
yes,
man,
sir.
I don't want to live like that. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of my husband because he's been covering some of his political tattoos and stuff like that, and
Yes,
I'm
sir.
very proud of him. He's been amazing.
Hmm.
He's got a lot of work, we both do, and together, but he'll
Yes.
get there.
Together you'll conquer, as one you'll fail. Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to tell people, man, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video, and make sure you leave a comment. You watch this show, Little Country, respond to their comments, man. All right? Amanda,
All right,
too.
will do.
They might have some
We
questions for you, man. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to close the show with respect. Until tomorrow, Blood on the Razor Wire, we're out.